Lovely. Hello and welcome, everybody. My name is Nat. This is the Curiosity Complex. I will be your host every single time you listen to this podcast. And in classic podcast fashion, my dogs are going crazy in the background. So, firstly, apologies for that. Now, as I always do, I want to start this podcast by saying thank you to the NHS for everything they've been doing during this really difficult time. And to everyone else, please, please, please stay safe. Now, this is my first podcast with two people. So it could go really, really well, or it could be a little bit crazy. We'll just kind of roll with it, see what happens. But yeah, without further ado, I'll let one of the two of them introduce themselves.
Dave, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah. So I'm David. I'm the founder of Peak Runners. So I organise a fell and trail running events in the Peak District National Park. I met Ed, the Conte Thunder Run last year when we both started working at the event, and then from there we've been on various trips, and now we've sort of sprung up with the idea of collaborating together and bringing together the Trail Pursuit event in the Lake District. And Ed, you want to introduce yourself?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm Ed, and I'm the founder of Avossi, and we host sort of adventurous trips around the world. And I'm co-founder with Dave of Trail Pursuit, which has been a brand new idea born out of lockdown. Sort of putting our skill sets together, looking ahead to creating a really awesome trail race experience in the Lake District.
Awesome. That's perfect. Now you've both got really cool, obviously the people listening won't be able to see this, but you've both got really cool Trail Pursuit tops on, and a bit of background in terms of like why I am talking to these two is because I'm going to be doing my first marathon at Trail Pursuit next year, which should be really, really good. And I've been wanting to get a chance to talk to them for a while now, because it's been, I've fallen in love with running about maybe 6 months ago. And it's been quite a journey, and the marathon has been a big goal in my head. So it's been really cool to kind of book that first one in. And there's not much better than, I kind of can't think of a much better marathon than Trail Pursuit, because it's not only a marathon, it's got loads of stuff as well. And I am really curious how you guys came up with the idea for having either, a wild swim in Windermere or the yoga afterwards, because that's a really cool idea. And I was kind of wondering where that all started, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, I guess firstly, thank you for signing up for your first trail marathon. It's going to be absolutely awesome.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yeah, you're going to do great. And yeah, I think from my side, like the idea really came about wanting to do something a little bit different. Obviously, there's trail races all over the UK and the world, I guess. But we wanted to fuse other outdoor pursuits that people love or are sort of getting into. Those two being like wild swimming, and also yoga. And we've collaborated with some yoga teachers in the past, and we thought if we could do that on a slightly bigger scale, and offer it at sort of a big day event, it'd be quite fun.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay, so in terms of your backgrounds, you went into a little bit in your intros, but I guess we'll start with Dave. What's your kind of what's been your background with running and all that sort of stuff?
So I started off running seriously in 2011. Before then, I had a big background in the martial arts. Had a big career in the martial arts sort of circuits, and then so from 2011, I started running seriously in the endurance events. I started off in the 12 and 24-hour events, and then,
wow.
And then fell in love with the trail running and things like that. So I just like to be outside in the mountains and everything. And then from there on, that's when I started organising the Peak Runners events in the Peak District National Park, and so we could sort of share the mountains and the environment with other like-minded people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah.
Cool. Ed, what about you?
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm yet to do an ultra, but I guess my running started when I was actually down in after university down in Southampton, and I luckily got a place for the London Marathon. And basically, yes, followed a plan and joined a club down there, trained on like a Monday and Thursday, and basically, did the first marathon. And then from doing a few halves and like road races, basically sort of pivoted into more trail running, and just absolutely loved it. The freedom of it, and just sort of blazing through trails and exploring, and sort of that exploration element really sort of just captured me, and just look back.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing the difference I find between running on trails and running on the road. It's not that I don't like running on the road, but running on the trail is 1,000 times better for me, at least. 1,000 times better. And the question I often think about on my runs, directed at myself, but I like to ask it to guests as well that like running, is kind of why do you love running so much? What is it about running that keeps you coming back?
I think for running, it's like a little bit of an escape as well for people, isn't it? You can sort of get out into the hills, and there's no sort of worries and things with it every other day. Sort of worries in the world is you can get out there and escape and just like I said, connect with the nature and enjoy the trails and just enjoy yourself. So yeah.
Completely agree. I think it's that mix of community as well, and like supporting other people, and doing runs together, like social runs, and then maybe both doing the same race, or if there's a group of you, which can be really fun. And then I think as well, just for me, mindset as well, just being able to clear your head after a busy day, or even at the start of the day. I quite like it because you just start really clear-headed, and those endorphins and things. And
well, that's really cool. Thanks, guys. I'm not gonna lie, I struggle to answer that question, so it's good that you guys had such friendly available answers, because you do a much better job than me. I turn around and go, I don't know, I just run, and then I keep, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean,
on the road, or do you have trails nearby, or what?
Well, it's a bit of a tough one. From my house, I pretty much have to run on road, but I can drive about 10-15 minutes and I'll be on trails. And actually, part of the reason why I wanted to get you both on the podcast is because for a couple of months during lockdown, I really tried to start my own race. And become a race director, create my own race. But unfortunately, the forest that I love running through so much, and I thought, I'd make a race there because it's my favorite place to run, so why not? It's owned by the Crown Estate, and it's quite a busy forest, and they are notoriously difficult to get permission off as it is. And I am obsessed with ultras, so I wanted to do an ultra type format, so a 12-hour or 24-hour type format of loops around this forest, a bit like the Barkley marathons, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I got an email saying, please detail everything, but I must warn you, it's extremely difficult to get permission to do a race around this area. And I was like, oh, great. So I had someone else, I had a friend that wanted to do with me, and Alex, if you're listening, we did get severely declined. I haven't actually told him that yet, but we got severely declined. He was like, no, that's just not going to work. I was like, okay, thanks. So I'm kind of rethinking the whole race. But what was it that you kind of started you guys in the race director scene rather than just running?
Well, Dave, I guess you answer this first, because you've been a race director a few years longer than me.
Yeah. So I've been race directing for the past sort of 5 years now. So previously before doing the race directing, I was funny enough a fishmonger for 20 years, which is completely opposite to what I'm doing now. So I did fishmongering for 20 years. I was organising the running events while I was still working at the fish, and things were getting quite busy on the running, so I had to choose from one or the other. So obviously I dropped the fish and jumped onto the race directing side of things. Again, it's a little bit of a risk when you're leaving a full-time job. Obviously, it's a risk. But I think if you're passionate about something, you will make something sort of come alive and work for yourself, won't you? So, it seems to be going okay.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
What got you into it, Ed?
Yeah, I think from my side, like so with Avossi, my brand, we basically started out with sort of performance runwear, and then pivoted more into hosting sort of adventure trips where we would take elements like, well, trail running often was the main one, and then depending on the location, we'd do kayaking or mountain biking. We led one with Dave in Snowdonia back in February, just before lockdown, which was like a pretty wet, wild, and wintry adventure. The wind on the peak was absolutely ridiculous, but yeah, I really enjoy sort of creating experiences that bring people together, and not only has the physical element, but also has we've done beer tasting with the brand Ravenhill. They've come and sort of showed their different locally made beers. We've also done like adventure talks, which Dave also spoke about, and just hearing like people's stories really and sharing that. And then, so yeah, to jump back to how I got into race directing, I invited Dave onto the Avossi podcast, and we had a big hour chat, and I said, why don't we do an Avossi X Peak Runners race at the end of the podcast? He was game. We kind of slept on it and then jumped into a big brainstorm session, and that's where it was born. That's we didn't have the name Trail Pursuit then, but that's where the idea, we're thinking, should we do a mini series in different seasons, or should we just shoot for one sort of flagship event? And that's what we went for.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really cool origin story, I guess. That's really cool. So in terms of Avossi, it's a really cool brand, and you guys often have a lot of cool trips lined up. So there's one, I entered the giveaway for the Croatia trip, for example, and all that sort of stuff. And I'm dying to get that. And there was one going to Norway, and I'm just a poor ex-student, so I can't afford that. But if I could, I would be on that like a rash. So kind of, is it something that you've always wanted to do in terms of creating your own brand and going all to these crazy places doing really fun things?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's been, what's really nice about it, it's been completely organic. So like, I've always had an interest in sport, and like that led to sort of trail running, and started an Instagram like many small brands and communities do. And then it's just been born out of a passion, really. So the first ever trip, Avossi trip we led, was actually to the Lake District. And there was 22 of us, and that was just for 24 hours. And that was mainly trail running and a talk and like a really, really lovely dinner and things. And then from there, we've just sort of experimented and created retreats. We did one down in Dorset, and just tried to like collaborate with interesting people. So Olivia, who led the yoga, and yoga and running goes really well together, and that was always popular. And they've just steadily grown, and now doing bigger sort of international ones is really, really exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. I realize I'm going to do that thing. Sometimes in podcasts, I get a phrase in my head, and there was one I did where I just said, "Wow, that's really interesting," constantly. And I think it's going to be one of those on a loop where I just say, "Oh, that's really cool." So I'm really trying not to say that. I'm going to say something different every single time. I'm going to make a promise to myself, because I get so many comments. People just message me. My friends like, "Nat, you did it again. Wow, that's really interesting." They'll just message me, "Wow, that's really interesting." I know exactly what they mean because I've said it 17 times in like 3 minutes. Yeah, so that was great. Thank you, Ed. So in terms of the Trail Pursuit as a race in general, the biggest issues that I had when I was trying to plan my race was the route. And obviously you guys recently released the routes for all the different 5K, 10K, half, full marathons. Mm-hmm. So what was the process like of finding all of these different routes for the 4 different races you're putting on?
Yeah. So for the route, I do go up to the Lake District quite a lot because I've got sort of family living up there. So I'm up there most sort of weekends and things like that. So I always go hiking around there. So I'm quite familiar with the routes from where the race is going to be starting. So, but yeah. So for the marathon, for instance, I wanted something quite accessible for like a new beginner to trail running, and then mix it in with a bit more the serious sort of guy as well. So you know what I mean. So I wanted some quite level sort of terrain to start off with, where you run out into the Langdale Valley, and then from there you start picking up the higher mountains, and so you can get that bit of elevation and a few sort of technical sort of mountain tops and things like that. So yeah. To me, I just wanted a bit of a mix for everybody, really.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because I was going to tell a little story here.
Mm.
And I went out. I used to go to university at Bangor, so
All right, yeah.
I know all about Snowdonia and that kind of area, and how the wind, for example, I can relate. So I went on a trip up there to see some friends that were still at uni, and I was wondering about the route, because I downloaded it on OS Maps, the app, and it was like you said, it was fairly flat, and then there's two big hills,
that's
and then
it,
a kind of smallerish one at the end.
Yeah,
and I was like, that looks pretty good.
Yeah,
that looks nice. Like you say, the first half is nice, and I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
But I'm scared of falling into the trap that I did when I went back to Snowdon, because I went on a run. I planned this route. It was going near Trifan. I didn't think it was going to go over Trifan. It did. I thought it was going near Trifan and near some of the Glidders, and I was like, yeah, this will be nice. This will be fun. It'll be a run. So I invited two friends along. I convinced them, yeah, we'll be running. It'll be amazing in the mountains. It won't be that high. Don't worry about it. And we just kind of crawled our way up these slopes, where I was like, yeah, there's a path here. And then it was just a scree slope. And I was like, that's not like a vertical scree slope. That's not a path. But we're going up it anyway, because why not? So is it genuinely quite a nice route to begin with? Or is it kind of, because it's such a long distance, do the little bumps look like little bumps, but they're actually massive bumps?
To me, I'd say to start off with, the first sort of 10k is nice and flat. It sort of runs along the Cumbria Way into the heart of the Langdales, and then from there you just start climbing quite sort of high. But they're all on sort of good sort of tracks and paths and things like that. And then to answer your question, the little lumps are sort of quite big lumps, if you know what I mean.
I thought as much. I thought as much. Yeah, I've underestimated it once again. Classic.
You'll be fine though. You'll be all right. You'll be fine.
I want the challenge. I mean, I've set myself the goal of going sub 6 hours for it.
That's a good time. Yeah, that's a good time.
Because OS Maps was like, oh, this will take 7.5 hours, and I was like, what?
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's just a marathon.
No, I know
spend 7 hours.
But if you have a look, if you have a look at the elevation and things, it is just over 6,000 feet, so it is quite a lot of vert in a marathon, if you know what I mean. But again, you are in the Lake District, so you are going over proper mountains, aren't you?
Yeah. I did know what I signed up for. I am guilty of that. Okay, so we've also got something really, really cool, which I'm massively looking forward to, which is a guest speaker of Damien Hall, because I unashamedly have a crush on that man. He is so cool. He does like such cool stuff. Exemplified by his recent FKT on the South Wales Traverse.
Yeah, that's the one.
Absolutely insane achievement. So where did that idea kind of spring out of? Because I've never heard about that in a race, because I've not been doing running very long, but my vision of races in my head never had guest speakers like Damien Hall, for example. So where did that kind of all start?
Yeah, do you want to answer that, Ed? You want to?
Well, I mean, it was through. So Dave's actually coached by Damien.
Oh, sweet. Okay.
Yeah, and I think, we actually we had him on the Avosi, Damien on the Avosi podcast in maybe January or February time, and like we learned all about his career and getting to where he was, and then Dave actually joined him on his FKT.
Right.
So Dave, why don't you tell them about that experience?
So on the so I before Damien did the Southwest the Traverse in Wales, he did the Pennine Way FKT. So I joined Damien on the last sort of 40 miles. So I picked him up near Studley Pike and then ran to the finish with Damien there. But he did actually fizzle me out near the end. I couldn't even keep up with him near the end. So, it shows how good he is. But I think people like to listen to inspirational speakers, and you know what I mean. I think it just sort of motivates people and gives them the confidence to go out and try new things and new ideas and things like that. So I think a good mix of speakers as well will finish the weekend off nicely.
Yeah, definitely. Have you got more speakers lined up? Are there more people to come?
Yeah. So we've got Damien. Damien's as main speaker, and then we've got Shelley Garden on the Friday night. So we're gonna have Shelley like sort of opening the sort of show on the Friday night, and then we'll probably get a couple more sort of speakers in as well, just to run alongside them as well, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So yeah, should be good.
Yeah, interesting. That's really cool. No, that's really fantastic. Okay, so in terms of, I was chatting to my coach last night, and we were talking about aid stations, because although it's like 30 weeks away, I know for a fact that 30 weeks is going to go by like a flash of light. So I'm planning already, and we looked online, and road races, obviously aid stations are every 5k.
Yeah, that's right.
And I was like, on a trail race, I'm not sure how that would work. So I'm just genuinely curious about how aid stations work at trail races rather than road races.
Yeah. So again, on sort of trail races, especially when it involves mountains and things like that. The aid stations will pop up at most of the sort of the road crossings, if you know what I mean. So
yeah.
And I'd say your first feed station, then aid station is going to be at sort of mile 5, and then again we'll just sort of keep popping them into the road crossings and things like that. But I think people running the marathon should. I always think they should be able to carry a little bit of their own sort of gear as well, like water and some high energy snacks as well. Just just to sort of keep it going. If you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you there'll be about three feed aid stations maximum anyway on there, and then I'm hoping the guys and everyone will be carrying a bit of their own sort of gear as well with them.
Yeah.
But all that will be explained in like the race briefing and everything like that near the time, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, of course. No, we were talking, and he said he doesn't really carry anything for a. He's more of a half marathon runner, but he was saying he doesn't really carry anything, and I was thinking, because I don't really leave the house without a vest of some description on.
Yeah, no, that's right. Yeah, that's right. You know what I mean? But on the 10k, the half marathon, and the full marathon, I will be making everyone carry the full sort of FRA sort of kit list anyway. You know what I mean? Because of the time of the year and because you're going so high up in the mountains, everybody will be sort of kit checked and everything like that before the event and everything. So you just need to do it for the safety of the runners in case anybody gets injured and then falls over on the tops of the hills and things. People have to be prepared to sort of rescue sometime as well, don't they, if you know what I mean?
Of course. Yeah. Well, I'm getting so excited about this. This is crazy. It's so far away. So in terms of the race, it's being run, is it kind of, I don't know what the right word is, but run through is it the Brathay Trust?
Brathay Trust, yeah.
Brathay Trust, yeah. Could you maybe tell us, either Ed or Dave, I don't really mind.
Yeah, do you
want
to
tell us more about what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Brathay Trust is, that's the charity element within Brathay Hall. So Brathay Hall is a beautiful sort of manor house that sits on the north shore of Windermere. Really, really amazing spot, and they basically help young children with sort of life skills in the outdoors, and they hire this venue out, and they have some of their own races called, I think it's called Brathay Challenges. They do different runs and swims and cycles in the sort of Windermere area. So yeah, it's definitely good to be working alongside them and hosting it there.
Yeah, that sounds really good. It looks like, from the pictures that I've seen that you guys have posted, it looks really like to play a really nice place to start a race. And I'm guessing we're finishing there as well.
Yeah, we'll finish outside the house, and the swim spot down by the docks is honestly, it's incredible. There's two areas, but one will be the main one, I think, and it's beautiful setting for a little swim.
I'm excited. I think I was thinking about this. I think I will swim.
Swim.
over the yoga. Yeah, I think it was swim. My coach probably killed me because he frequently like, do yoga, do more yoga, do more yoga, and I'm like, oh, I'll swim. Okay, so in terms of the race itself and all the planning, all that went into that, what has been one of the biggest challenges of organising this?
Oh, good question. Let me think about that for a minute.
Yeah. You to me, I think to start off with was obviously sourcing the correct sort of venue for the race to take place. You to me, so we did sort of investigate a few different venues, and Braithey came up with the best out of them all. And you to me, again, it's nice to be working with a charity as well. So you to me, so we can give a little back as well, if you know what I mean. And you to me, and from Braithey Hall, all the routes are quite accessible from the hall as well. So it used to mean it was quite easy to sort of set up the running routes as well from there. And then obviously for the wild swim and the yoga and things like that.
Yeah, I guess it's a good point. Like finding the venue that could accommodate for all the things, the activities that we wanted. So we wanted like an awesome trail race experience. We're also looking at Grizedale Forest.
Oh, I love Grizedale. That's such a good idea.
Yeah, that was. I think we might even have reached out to them first.
We did do, yes, yeah.
But then, we wanted to incorporate like this swim element and the yoga and create sort of a mini festival buzz for the weekend. So Braithey just, it seemed to tick the boxes, and they're really friendly people as well. So it's good to be working with people who are on the same sort of wavelength.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that is. I mean, it's mad to think that I'm going to be running a marathon in Lake District, but to be doing it with a charity element as well is so much better. I think a lot of the time. Okay, so changing tack a little bit. In terms of the, where was I going with this? You know, when you have a train of thought and it just kind of flies off and you don't remember anything. This is classic podcast. I always do this. Okay, so I don't know where I was going with that. It was a really good question as well. So do you have to get like permissions to use that land that everyone's running on? Is there lots of permissions to have or to obtain, I suppose?
Yeah, you have to mean, so the main permission is obviously for the where we're holding the start and finish at Braithey Hall, which was okay to sort of get, because obviously it's a charity and we're working with a charity and everything. So you have to mean was allowed to sort of hold the event there, and then from there you just have like the adjoining sort of landowners like National Trust and a few different landowners who own different fields and different footpaths and things like that. So. But again, you just have to build up that relationship with the landowners, and then it is pretty much straightforward. If you sort of keep the races and the routes on the main sort of bridleways and paths, it's more or less sort of okay. I dare say you only sort of start getting problems when you start cutting across sort of open sort of fells and fields and things like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
But yeah, it seems okay though. It seems all right.
Yeah, that's really really interesting. See, I haven't used the word cool in ages, which is great. Okay, so with the whole, obviously there's going to be a lot of people there, and I made a rule not to talk about the coronavirus during the podcast. But I am genuinely curious about how, if it's still a thing, have you guys got like contingency plans for coronavirus, or are you kind of banking on it not even hopefully being a thing that late into the next year?
Yeah.
We've got sort of, go on, Ed, go on, I'll let you.
Yeah, no, so we've got a few sort of precautions in place, and Dave's hosting a race at the start of November, so that's going to be we're going to basically stagger the times if that is the case, that people set off, so that there isn't just a big sort of mass start. It'll be in smaller groups. But yeah, really we have to follow just government guidelines and like the UK athletics and things, and just see where we're at. But it's a good 7 or 8 months away. So yeah, 8 months.
Yeah.
Should be good.
Yeah.
One thing that I remembered to ask you guys about is actually I was really I can't really think of the word. I was really happy to see that you guys have had so much like inclusivity or accessibility. So you've got kind of ambassadors for the race. And a lot of those I hadn't not necessarily hadn't heard of before, but wasn't really too aware of before you guys said that these were ambassadors. So you've got like the black trail runners and is it assisted trail runners, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So could you possibly tell me a little bit more about how that all came about? Because it's really not something I would have necessarily thought about, as bad as that sounds, but it really struck me as quite an amazing thing to have kind of that many different ambassadors from different backgrounds, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when Dave and I were like way back brainstorming the event and thinking, how can we make this a little bit different? How can we make it inclusive for people that might not necessarily have raced a trail race before? So the inclusivity is like one of our 5 core values, and we just want to make it as open and welcome to different types of runners. And yeah, as you say, the adaptive athletes it's something Dave and I are both learning about as well. There's an ambassador called Jamie who's got a prosthetic limb, and he's been educating us on how a lot of races and race organisers just sort of exclude or don't involve adaptive athletes. So we've tried to make a bit of an effort to engage them. We've got a little 5K race which will be held within Braithwaite in the grounds. And then they're able to take part and get a sense for it and go for a swim after. And I think it's important, like especially with black trail runners as well. And just I think in the racing world things can become a little bit elitist and quite sort of not as inclusive and welcoming. But we just want to create a big community, which is why I think people are signing up and keen to get involved.
Yeah, that's really really awesome. Yeah, I'm really scraping the barrel for adjectives now. So with the you mentioned, is it Ravenhill before, the beer company? And kind of the different sponsors. How did you find getting? Because I suppose you are an RD by profession, Dave. But in terms of getting different sponsors, how was that a challenging part of it, or was that more kind of you've already got a few lined up?
Yeah, no, you to me, it is quite sort of challenging to get sort of new sort of sponsors on board, but because I've sort of been doing the peak runners for 5 years, you do sort of bank quite a few sort of good contacts and things like that, and you can sort of use sort of sponsors from the peak runners and transfer them to the Trail Pursuit event and things like that, so we can sort of help each other. It is a lot harder trying to grab a new sponsor, but it is doable. You know what I mean? It is doable.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? But I think Ed, Ed, if you want to chat about Ravenhill, because it's quite a good friend of yours, isn't it, Mark of Ravenhill?
Yeah. Mark is we actually started out in the same co-working space. Good, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And he moved back to his family farm in Yorkshire. And started the beer brand Ravenhill, and they create like ales and lagers and stouts and things. They're our headline sort of brewery sponsor, and they're really, really good guys, and the beer tastes amazing, which is the most important thing, really.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
I think with the other sponsors, we've also tried to like choose and work with guys and girls who share some of the similar values for exploration and the outdoors and sort of that community and inclusivity vibe, just so it matches. It does take a little bit of time, but I think it's worth doing because it helps to grow and you bring in different audiences and things.
Yeah, definitely. So I want to take a moment to look into the future a little bit. And hopefully the Trail Pursuit experience is going to be amazing. I mean, it's very much set up to be that way, so I'd be extremely surprised if it's not. But in terms of where the race is going, do you think you guys are going to make this a permanent fixture for a few years? Is there going to be maybe an ultra in there somewhere for the likes of me? What's the future for Trail Pursuit?
Yeah. You know what I think. Obviously, the first year is obviously always a bit of a tester into the first sort of year putting an event on. But you know what I mean, as a plan is to do like an annual event in the Lake District, and it is doable to pop an ultra in there as well for people. I can easily rustle up a nice ultra route for you. But yeah, you know what I mean. As a plan is to keep doing it annually, and then if it works out all right, we can pop up a few new trail pursuits in different parts of the UK. You know what I mean? Just see how it goes, really. Yeah,
that'd be really cool. Because like I mentioned before, it's not a format that I've really seen within the whole racing,
right?
The racing community area. Although I've never actually run a race before, so I may be just chatting a lot of rubbish. But to me, it seems like something that is really appealing. And I guess you guys are quite active on social media, and it's Trail Pursuit on Instagram. You guys don't have a Twitter, do you?
No.
No. Okay, I was worried then, because I'm not following you on Twitter, and I was like, oh, I messed up. But yeah, you guys are really active on Instagram, which is great, and you've had quite a lot of kind of uptake of people, or it seems like at least quite a big uptake of people signing on and signing up. Has that been quite encouraging to see?
Yeah, definitely. We're sitting on about 350 people who have signed up, and it's a real mix of the races that they've entered. I think the half is just edging it in the most popular, and then the marathon is definitely second, and then sort of 10K. And we've also the kids 1 mile race is beginning to pick up, which is quite fun as well.
Yeah.
Come with their little ones. But yeah, I mean, having the event born out of lockdown and sort of creating a bit of a brand and a set of values, and I guess the whole setup for the event and the races, to see people, supporting that and enthusiastic for that is really, really good.
Yeah. So you mentioned there the values, and I find that whenever someone mentions that, I find it so interesting, because in my experience, a lot of my peers don't really do that. There's no kind of acknowledgement that the values that you hold are actually quite important. So did you guys have a conversation between each other to kind of set what those were, or what kind of the parameters of that were?
Yeah, absolutely. We so it was part of when we were designing the logo and the brand colors and things like that. That was definitely a conversation and brainstorm we had, and that sort of is now on the website and things. So yeah, it goes through from the logo, which is quite bold, and but then we wanted to make it a little bit friendly, or not friendly, but like sort of fun, take the edge off a little bit. So the colour sort of turquoise blue and the sort of mustard yellow, just a little bit different, rather than red and black, or like the blue that you see. So yeah, just having fun with it.
Yeah. How long? That's a really good question. How long did it take to kind of find what the brand looked like in your head? Because I recently started my own business, and I've spent a long time worrying and changing my I guess my logo. So what was kind of the process of designing, with like you mentioned, the colors and what kind of vibe they give people that look at it? What was the process behind that?
That's a good question. So Dave and I bounced a few ideas around. Then we reached out to a design company who are in the WeWork co-working space, and we did some different designs with them, but it didn't really fit the bill. So we sort of went away and sort of thought about it ourselves, and then we reached out to a freelancer who I'd done some work with in the past. And he did a really, really good job, and basically helped bring it to life. And it's the same thing with business or relationships or just anything really. Like, some things aren't going to fit, and this new set of designs was much more in sort of our minds, that we wanted it to be bold, and the sort of the icon to be within the logo. So obviously the A represents the mountain as well. Yeah, Dave, have you got anything?
Yeah, you mean I don't think it really took us that sort of long, really, to sort of come up with the name and the brand and everything, did it? You mean I think we pretty much sort of nailed it after a good sort of month and a half, really, didn't we? You know what I mean? Yeah.
Absolute age ago now, but
Well, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, it does.
I remember in the early stages, like coming up with the name was. I literally went into a room. I had a mind map board, and I just put down. I must have had about, I don't know, 150 words on the page. Literally in an hour. It was on Friday afternoon, playing with all different words, trail and champion and racing and everything you can think of, and basically put together trail. And then pursuit was on the other side. I sort of circled them, and then thought trail pursuit, and I sort of drew it out, and then. I invited my wife in, who was there, and I was like, I think I've got the name. This is it. What do you think? And she was like, yeah, that's the one. So yeah, I mean, the logo took a little bit longer, but the actual name was really, really fun to create. And Dave liked it as well, so that was good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really good to hear. He did a better job than me, that's for sure. Because I did a similar thing. I had about 3 scrolls worth of notes on my phone of different names I could make my race, and I didn't like any of them. It wasn't good. So I'm really glad to hear that you guys had a nice time doing that. For quite a selfish question now, but if anyone listening is interested in race directing, what would be kind of some of the best, or in terms of obviously making a brand that's around fitness and going on trips like you guys make, what is the kind of some of the best tips you could give someone that's into that sort of thing?
Yeah, Dave, do you want to give tips for the race directing, and I'll give for?
Yeah. I think for the race directing, I think you just have to sort of use your own sort of passion and sort of use that passion to sort of grow your business, and again, you just have to take that bit of a risk and jump on it and make things work, don't you? But if you're like a lover of the outdoors and you love the running environment and things like that, you just have to go for it, don't you? You know what I mean? But yeah. I think it seems quite simple for me to sort of say that, but you know what I mean?
No, it's good advice. It's good advice. I mean, if you want something, you got to go and get it, don't you? So
yeah, of course you do. Yeah.
No, I completely agree. I think to simplify it is often the best route anyway. You know, I guess it all depends on your circumstance and you know, if you have a family or basically what you've got going on. But if you've got something that is itching you and you're thinking about it, or it's an idea that you've had for, you know, a little while, then it probably means you could have a good go at it. And I think from my experience of like starting different projects and different brands, it's like just to give it a go. And like the idea and thing that you set out on isn't always going to be the end result that actually pops out and is the success or what you pivot to. Like there'll be things that come along and new relationships which will be born, which will help grow things. And until you just sort of go for it or just lean into the uncertainty a little bit, you're not going to know. So it's worth sort of acting on your ideas.
Yeah, that's really interesting. That's great. And then in terms of the rewards you get for finishing the race, this is one of my biggest holdups. So obviously you guys have got a lot of sponsors, and I'm assuming Ravenhill will be giving me a beer when I finish, which would be great. Nudge. But how did you guys? Was there a conversation about, you know, do we give people medals? Do we give them pieces of paper? Like, what's up with that?
Yeah, it's good question. We wanted to, you know, the environment and sustainability is important to us, or myself and Dave, and I think most people actually just in general now, like we're opting to, you know, we want to take care of our planet and not just have massive wastage. So we've opted for really beautiful sort of wooden eco medals. And yeah, the finisher beer will be from Ravenhill, which will be a really tasty IPA. And they've actually just launched a beer called Trail, so that's quite fitting. But
awesome, great. That's so good. Good timing.
Yeah, Dave, have you got anything to add?
No, I think you've pretty much said it, Ed. I think, yeah.
Also, I mean, eco medals is probably better than a flashy metal one.
It is, yeah, of course it is, yeah.
I definitely agree. I love that. Well, it should be a really, really great race. I'm really looking forward to it, and meeting you guys in person, that'd be great as well.
Yeah.
Your torture is over. I've run out of questions. I am officially done. So all that's left is to say thank you guys so much for
I appreciate it.
on.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
What I normally do is ask my guests to kind of give a little shout out to whoever they'd like. So if you guys want to do that, feel free, but also don't if you don't want to. You know what I mean?
Okay, I'm going to give a shout out to everyone who has signed up for Trail Pursuit. Thank you. You're going to have an amazing time. We're going to create something really special, and we're going to blaze some trails.
Nice. Well said.
Yeah, you mean? And again, I'd like to say thank you to all the sponsors who were jumping on board and helping us, and then for Damien Hall for coming to do the talks and things like that, and for Braithey Hall for letting us help us contribute to their charity and things like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So if anyone is interested, obviously, like I mentioned, Trail Pursuit on Instagram. They got a really cool website as well. Definitely go and check that out. I put a post on my Instagram story recently about it. But obviously it's in the lakes, and it's that which is, we all know the lakes is a beautiful part of the world. And not only do you get to run, although I say that a lot of my friends don't like running, so I say that warily, you get to run. But then obviously you've got yoga and or swimming, and then talks by a guy that's ridiculously accomplished at the sport. So I struggle to see much things better than that, honestly. So definitely go and check that out. Drop them a follow, drop them likes and comments. That'd be amazing. But for now, I'll catch you on the next episode. Stay curious, everyone. Great. Do you want to hit stop recording for me, Ed? Cheers.
Yeah.